Officials in Greece say they have no request for that Iranian oil tanker to dock at its ports as the U.S. State Department warns them against helping the vessel. This comes as sources tell Fox News that a second Iranian tanker is now headed to Syria. That would be in violation of U.S. sanctions. The Bonita Queen reportedly planning to transfer its cargo of crude oil to two Syrian-owned tankers later in the year. An Australian think tank warning China could win an Indo-Pacific war against the United States in a matter of hours. Researchers from the University of Sydney claim China could launch a military attack against our allies in the region and win before the United States could even respond. Well, you know, when you see something this dramatic and this alarming, you ask yourself, who did this study? Well, three people, basically, three entities, I should say, the Australian government and two military defense companies, Northrop Grumman and Telus, a French company. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? President Trump, for his part, says he's not losing any sleep over this.
We have the strongest military in the world right now, and we're getting very close to finishing that whole rebuilding. We've rebuilt the military. Right now, there's nobody that's even close to us militarily, not even close.
So that doesn't concern you at all, the Chinese military?
No, because they'd pay a price that they wouldn't want to pay.
Joining us tonight, Fox Business national security and foreign policy analyst Dr. Waleed Phares and Dr. Sebastian Gorka, host of Salem Radio's America First, best-selling author, former strategist to President Trump. Good of both of you to be here. Let's start with Iran, Waleed. This business with the tankers. Why is this so significant, and why is the United States, to this point, hapless in, if it wishes to stop the tanker and confiscate it, why hasn't it done so?
Well, first thing, Lou, this demonstrates very clearly that the Iran regime is starving. They want their tankers to go anywhere they can sell, and Syria as an ally backed by Russia at this point in time. This is evidence that we are successful with regard to Iran. On the other hand, seizing a tanker, I mean, the United States, before making such a decision, needs to have the bigger plan. So what happened next? The Iranians are going to move. Where are we going to move? It's not just across the Gulf or the Mediterranean. Maybe in Iraq, maybe in Syria. So I would give the administration the credit of being willing to study what should be done, but definitely we're not going to allow Iran to break those sanctions.
Well, it looks to me, though, we haven't got an answer, or at least a good one. Seb, what do you think?
I tend to agree with Waleed. This is a regime that's tottering. The sanctions that we've reimposed following the president's incredibly sagacious decision to cancel the disastrous JCPOA Iran deal that we inherited from Obama has really put the squeeze on Iran. They're desperate. This is a nation that is so very rich in oil, but barely has a capacity to refine any of the oil that's under its own soil. This is just, as far as I'm concerned, Lou, this is rusty saber rattling, and it's a very good sign.
Okay, we will take it as that. And the issue of ISIS. And I want to ask you, Waleed, first, these accounts of ISIS in some sort of resurgence, no matter how, if you will, nascent or controlled, it's alarming when you think about the Taliban in Afghanistan and ISIS and the relationship between those two. I see almost no mention of that relationship between ISIS and the Taliban. It's critical to the president's plans to rationalize our military presence around the world.
It's true. This is a problem, meaning how to deal with the jihadist movements around the world on the long term. But let's be realistic. ISIS real estate in Syria and Iraq strategically is gone. The administration has done a formidable job in making sure that the caliphate is gone. Now, these are spasms. They're going to have them in Syria, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in 52 countries around the world, possibly. But the concern I have is not really ISIS in Syria. That can be handled. It's what we're doing in terms of cutting a deal with the Taliban in Qatar. That's a question that needs to be debated. I don't trust the Taliban before they reform, and they are not reforming so far.
And the relationship between the Taliban and ISIS?
I think that the Taliban are cutting deals with Al-Qaeda, with ISIS, are telling them, look, guys, let me deal with the Americans first. Let us getting them out of Afghanistan, and then we can have all what we want after they're gone. We should not be naive to allow the Taliban to proceed in that direction.
And Seb, I want to ask you as we wrap up here. China is confronting us around the globe. Russia is doing so region by region, but particularly in the Middle East. Your thoughts about the challenge they both represent now, working together against the United States?
Well, look, under the former KGB Colonel Vladimir Putin, Russia is still an international threat. It's a destabilizing force, but it is also a nation in massive decline. 600,000 people die in Russia every year, more than are born. It's in a demographic tailspin. With regards to that study from Sydney, you asked the right question, Lou. This center nobody's heard of, the American Studies Center at the University of Sydney. This report, 3 people that have never been heard of in the international community. This smacks of propaganda. The idea that China is our #1 strategic foe, but the idea that they could defeat us in a matter of hours, one metric, Lou. China has 1 aircraft carrier that is diesel powered that they bought second-hand from Ukraine. We, America, have 12 nuclear aircraft carriers. This is a farce of a study.
They wouldn't be trying to gin up a little contract
Business,
or
a
something.
little bit of business. Right.
Well, you get the last word.
You nailed it.
Look, I agree with the professor that China has not had any experience in global warfare since when? Since the Korean War. We have been there. We have been having all these experiences. But above all, as Seb said, we are all over the world. We are already deployed everywhere in the world. We can reach any point in hours, actually. They should have done the study about our forces. That would apply to U.S. Air Forces, not to China.
I think you both would agree with me that we would forego all of that experience and be willing to lament our smaller presence around the globe rather than the vast presence that we have now. Waleed Phares, Sebastian Gorka, thank you both for being with us.
Thank you, Lou.